Kidding? Just one shot?
They're not all zombies, Doug. How do you fight this thing?
Maybe we could drown it in A1 sauce.
Well, sometimes that is better. The person you put up there ain't the person that comes back.
It's a dance song to get down with. About 6 feet under. Get there.
Ooh, I love this song.
And now we come to the thrilling final episode of our radio drama.
Hello and welcome to episode 216 of the Rotten Views podcast. Thank you everyone for showing up to another new episode. I appreciate it very, very much. Hopefully this episode's going to be a good one. As always, during the intro scene, I haven't watched this movie. I mean, if it's a movie I've seen before, I've of course watched it before. But this one's a first time watch for us, so hopefully it's going to be a good movie. Hopefully it's going to be a fun movie. Hopefully you guys will enjoy this episode. Like I said, I don't know anything about this movie. I saw the title, saw the cheesy looking cover image, and it caught my attention. I'm like, you know what? I got a podcast. I might as well just do this movie on the podcast because why not? It's my podcast and I can do whatever I want on it. So, but before we get into that, let's do a little bit of housekeeping.
Housekeeping?
I think you're sleeping.
Housekeeping?
Could you come back in an hour?
Housekeeping, you want towels?
Oh, towels. Need sleepy.
Housekeeping, you want mint for pillow?
Please go away. Let me sleep for the love of God.
So the first thing we're just going to talk about, if you guys feel so kindly to do so, if you could go over to Spotify, give it a star review. I'm not going to ask you for a 5-star review. I'm not going to be that type of person. Give it whatever kind of star you feel like it deserves. If you think it deserves a 5-star, that's amazing. I appreciate it very, very much. If you think it deserves a 4-star, 3-star, hopefully not a 1-star because I'll curse you. I'm kidding. I won't. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how the future goes, okay? But yeah, if you're also on Apple or iTunes or whatever it might be, feel free to leave me a review there as well. If you're on CastBox, I don't know if there's a review option on CastBox at all. Or if you're listening on the YouTube channel, definitely go leave some comments down there. Hit that subscribe button. I appreciate that because we do have old episodes of the podcast being uploaded every single week over on the YouTube channel. It's every Monday I've been uploading those, so been fairly well. I think people are enjoying them, so I appreciate that. Also, if you guys could be so kind to do so while you're over on that YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, turn on the bell notifications, that way you get notified every time we go live. We'll have a new video. If it's the weekly game video that's dropping every Wednesday, I've been playing Ben 10 randomly on the PS5. It's alright game, it's a kid's game for sure, but people seem to be enjoying it, so I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. We also have old, like I said, old episodes of podcasts over there. We have various shorts. I've been uploading a single short every single day. Of course, this month for Halloween, instead of doing Inktober, I did my own version, which is Scoobtober. So each and every single day, we're doing a different Scooby-Doo bad guy. So definitely go check them out. It's from like 13 Ghosts of Scooby-Doo, Pup Named Scooby-Doo, Scooby-Doo Guess Who, Scooby-Doo Where Are You? I'm pretty much hitting all the different Scooby-Doo TV series. So definitely go check it out. I think I got some cool villains over there, so hopefully you guys will find some that you enjoy. And the main thing you guys can do that would help me out a lot is just share all the content. Share the podcasts, share the art streams, share the YouTube videos in general, the gaming videos, all that stuff. If you could just hit that share button, it does help me out a lot. We're also on Twitch again, so please, if you could go check out my Twitch account, that means a lot to me. I've been streaming for a couple hours almost every night lately, so it's probably not going to stay consistent. It's not going to be a 7-day, stream basis, but we're going to try to do like 3 to 4 streams a week, couple hours a night, and hopefully you guys will enjoy that content. We've been playing Dead Island 2 over there. That's a fun zombie game. I love the first Dead Island game, so maybe we'll break that out at some point in time because I still own it. So maybe we'll play that one after we beat this one. Who knows? Wait and see. But yeah, all the links are down below, so if you want to follow me on Instagram or TikTok or the YouTube page, the Twitch page, or the Facebook page, we've been posting every single day on the Facebook page as well. I would appreciate that a lot, and it does mean a lot. The main goal is just to grow the podcast, the art page, and the YouTube account, and just the streaming, the community in general as a whole, is just to try and build it and make a group of people that all enjoy the same thing. Hopefully it'll happen at some point. I mean, it is happening. I see it happening all the time. So I do appreciate everyone who's been liking the artwork, sharing the content, and everything else. It does mean a lot to me. And thank you for checking out the podcast each and every single week. It does mean a lot. That being said, let's get into the episode at hand. You guys aren't here to listen to me talk about the art stuff and the YouTube videos and all that stuff, or the Twitch streams. I mean, there's endless amount of content for free. Just letting you guys know that. Free content. You just gotta make an account and go live. Not even go live, because I'm the one going live. You just have to click the links every now and then to see what I'm doing while I'm going live. But yeah, a little tangent there. We are here to talk about a movie called The Freeway Maniac from 1989, which has apparently a 4 out of 10 on IMDb, 3 out of 5 on Letterboxd, and 40% on Rotten Tomatoes. This movie came out in 1989 and has runtime of 1 hour and 35 minutes. It's a slasher horror thriller movie. The description, as read on IMDb: crazed killer sneaks onto the set of a sci-fi film and begins murdering the cast and crew. So that description right there sounds like it's going to be a really fun movie, and I'm hoping, because we're still in the intro part of this podcast, so I haven't actually watched the movie yet at all. So hopefully this movie does hold up. I'm really hoping it does. Sadly, it's come to my attention that this movie doesn't have a tagline, apparently, according to IMDb, so I guess I'm going to have to skip this segment. But that brings us to the segment where we start talking about the cast and crew a little bit, and we got someone doing a little bit of double duty, like we have been for the last couple weeks here. Our director is also one of the writers for this movie, and the director for this movie, Paul Winters. Paul's got a little bit of an interesting IMDb listings. Apparently in 2022, he was a cinematographer for Dog Boy, which I've never even heard of. In 1995, he was in Get Shorty, where he plays the Mercedes driver. Also in 2001, he was the director for The Homecoming of Jimmy Whitecloud, which I have never heard of that movie either. I don't know anything about that one. He was also the director for a movie in 2013 called Cowboy Zombies. How do I not know what this movie's about? I mean, by the title, we can just assume what it's about, but I don't know anything about this movie, and I love zombies, no matter how bad they are. The other person tagged with some writer credits on this one is someone named Gahan Wilson. I probably butchered that first name because I'm really good at doing that. That's like one of my skills. That's like one of my talents. They haven't really done much of anything. They were the writer for this, of course. They wrote one episode of the 1991 TV series Monsters, which I do want to review on the podcast at some point in time. I want to break down some of those episodes, made for like a month or something like that. But he also was on an episode in 1998 of It's True, the TV series. I don't know what that's about either. This person doesn't have really anything to discuss about, so. But I am curious about what episode of Monsters he did, because I personally, I've seen clips of that TV show, but I don't personally think I've ever watched any of the episodes, so even knowing which episode he did won't actually spark anything in my memory, because I have no memories of that. So talking about the actual cast of the TV show might be a little bit difficult, because the main three people that they want you to talk about, like on the top bookings for the casting section on IMDb, aren't really much of anything. But we're going to talk about one person, George Nicholas, who's playing Mother's boyfriend. That's literally the title he's credited at. Some of his other movies are Sakura Killers from 1987. He was in 100 Proof in 1997 as well as the producer. He was in 1985's USA Ninja, as well as 1988 Mannequin's Fort. I know none of those, not a single one, but I'm definitely curious about Sakura Killers and USA Ninja, because I like those old stupid ninja movies as well, so we're definitely going to be checking that out. But as for the other cast of the movie, it doesn't really seem like it's anything interesting. One of the other people that we're going to discuss in the movie is Buddy Daniels Friedman, who's playing Buddy Boy. He's not really on the top booking of the movie, but he's in 2001 played Pickpocket in Crocodile Dundee in Los Angeles. In 1988, he was part of the supporting cast for The Wizard Speed and Time. He's in 2019's Days Gone video game, as well as he was Dr. Gregor Frankenstein in 2018's Tales of Frankenstein, which I haven't watched that either, and I actually haven't played Days Gone. I own it. It's still factory sealed, to be honest with you guys, so maybe we'll have to play that game. I'm just curious what kind of character he is. I don't know if he's a main character. It just says additional crew, so I don't know what that means at all. Maybe just some like stunt work for all I know. But with that being said, let's just get into the movie at hand. I didn't say this earlier, but if you guys are new to this podcast, I'm not sure why you're picking this movie of all movies. But thank you. I appreciate that. But what we do here on the podcast is we talk about a movie from start to finish and hit all the points in between that interest us. So if you don't want to be spoiled on a movie that came out in 1989, feel free to pause it now. You can find a copy on YouTube. It's not that great. But you can still find a copy of it on YouTube nonetheless. But yeah, just sit back, get comfy, get some snacks, some Doritos, some Nerds, Nibs, whatever you might want to snack on. If you're at work, hopefully this helps you get through the day. And if you're in the car listening, please keep your eyes on the road. We don't need any more accidents. And we're going to get started on the podcast episode right now.
Presents Saturday Night at the Movies, the television series which each week brings you the finest in recent motion pictures. Tonight,
There is a place where a maniac waits.
I ain't no doctor, but I'm telling you, I've seen this guy in action.
Now, Arthur's on a rampage, out to kill everyone in sight. Until one woman fights back.
She was the one that escaped from that maniac.
It made her a hero, and Arthur's mad about it.
We got an escaped mental patient. We think he might be somewhere in the area.
What do you think? He's gonna cross the desert and find her just like that? He's a psycho.
But Arthur's out to prove that there's no escape from the high-speed terror of the Freeway Maniac.
So we got our movie starting out. It's a nice, back road. It's a paved back road, at least it's not dirt road. And we got some nice, country style rock and roll music playing. And we just see this nice old classic car. It looks like a Bel Air. I don't know, the copy of the movie isn't the greatest, but it's a little bit farther back there in the scene. But it looks like a nice car coming up. Car parks up on the side of the road, and then we pan inside this house where we see this old school clock that says cookie time, and we see the hands of the clock. And then we're panning around this kitchen where we see like a fridge, and it's got some kids artwork up on the wall. And there's a guy and a girl just getting it on in the kitchen. Quick start, I guess. And as they're getting it on the kitchen table, even though they're both fully dressed, the girl's got her dress up, of course. But then we see the point of view of this camera that looks like it's like a killer or something coming from down the hallway. And out of nowhere, the mom's just like, no, wait, I gotta go walk down the hallway and look for Arthur. She opens up her son's room, and we just see the teddy bear on the floor. And then there's like the punching bag blow up that you used to punch as a kid. I had one as a kid. It's just moving back and forth. And then the mom's like, you come out here, listen, you little monster, you were washing the whole time, weren't you? So then she goes to get Arthur out of the closet, and Arthur comes out with a giant ass butcher knife and literally just starts stabbing his mom, and then she's dead on the floor. Then we cut back to the guy who was getting ready to get some, who's just sitting in the kitchen, on the chair, having a smoke, being like, oh, what a crazy day, what's taking you so long? Come on, I got something for you, lady. Come on. Apparently it's not Arthur's dad, clearly. And then we see Arthur come up behind him with the knife and start stabbing him in the back, and the guy gives some really bad acting faces as he's getting stabbed in the back when he actually looks like he's getting ready to take a shit. I'm sorry, I just call it how I see it. It looks like he's constipated. And then it just cuts to the intro credits, and we see the Freeway Maniac pop up on the screen, and it's a Canon international film. And then the movie just cuts, and we see the city, and we see this building, and then we zoom in on the door, and it just says Unit 16 for whatever reason. And then there's like a flashing light, and then we just pan from the door again, but from the opposite angle for some goddamn reason. Come to find out, we're in a mental hospital at this point in time, because we see this guy just up against a pillar, just shaking, mumbling, being like, and I was like, okay, cool, bud. And then one of the physicians come in and just yells at everyone that it's a smoke break. Apparently people in the mental hospital get to have a smoke break. I didn't know that at all. So one of the patients calls this guy by name, and we find out that his name is Mitch, who's Ronnie Keeney. I didn't discuss him before the movie started. But anyways, he's actually handing out smokes to the patients to go out to have a smoke. One of them's Lily's like, touch my wings, you're tickling my wings. She's loopy, of course, because she's in a mental hospital. And then the other guy's like, I gotta go to Disneyland. He's like, nah, you're crazy. And he's like, oh, sorry for calling you crazy, I didn't mean to. Just go have your smoke outside and relax, okay, bud? Mitch is even lighting the smokes for them, because of course it can't have lighters. Why would I be so silly? I mean, I think it's crazy that they're just having smoke breaks in general, but I guess everyone needs a smoke break, even though I don't know why they're all smokers, but okay. Then everyone's outside, and then Mitch is like, hey, everybody inside, liquor game, tip off, we're playing Boston, come on, we gotta get inside now. Smoke breaks over, even though you've only been out for like 2 seconds. Then we see 2 guys watching the TV. It's a Laker game. And it's like, hey, new guy's here. And the one guy's not even moving his eyes from the TV. He's like, all right, I guess I'll go get the new guy. And when I come back, I'm going to strangle you with the TV cord. Okay, bud? Then we see Buddy Boy, which I'm assuming is Buddy Boy because on his IMDb picture, he's bald. And this guy in the mental hospital is bald as well. And he's acting like he's an opera singer. All right, whatever works. Helps you get through the day, I guess. Then Russ goes to pick up the new guy who's not a patient, who's actually a worker at the hospital. He's like, hey, I'll show you the route around the hospital, I guess. And their worker comes in. He's like, you're pretty light in the ass, aren't you, for this kind of work? He's like, yeah, but I know karate. So then the guy just starts laughing and walks away. I guess a little white boy knowing karate is not a very serious issue or situation. And then Russ is showing Jimmy around the hospital a little bit. He starts talking about a guy named Jim Waters, I believe I heard correctly. Apparently Jim liked to drive his car down the highway and then, hit anyone on the sidewalk by the sounds of it. And apparently he's the craziest, dude that he's ever seen, ever. And apparently he started killing people when he was a little kid. But that would have been young Arthur, right? Arthur was his name, I believe. Unless we got 2 little kids, because Russ says, yeah, he went crazy one night. He killed his mom and then killed the mom's boyfriend. Anyways, then they go to open up the cell to show Jimmy who it is. And Big Arthur breaks out and starts choking the little Jimmy. He throws Russ to the side like there's nothing. And then all Jimmy can say while he's getting choked up against the wall is like, no, please don't, I'm new here. Like, yeah, that's really going to stop. He's in a mental hospital. You think he cares? And then we just see him walking down the hallway now, and all the other patients are following behind him. And apparently he must have grabbed the keys off of Russ quickly, because then he unlocks the cell door, or not the cell door, the guard area. And that guy is still watching the TV, and he thinks Russ is trying to fill up his shoulders. But no, it's Arthur getting ready to choke him to death. I could have swore Russ said something about wall arters or something, some other name. But yeah, I'm pretty sure he meant, or it said Arthur, and I just didn't hear it clearly enough, because the sound mixing on this copy seems a little bit off. The music's really loud and the vocals themselves, dialogue, are kind of low and it's a little scratchy, but whatever. Anyways, then we see Big Arthur running down the hallway to escape, and then one of the other guards is chasing after him, tackles him to the ground. It's the guy that was laughing at Jimmy for knowing karate. And then next thing you know, Arthur gets away and starts running up, and then they're fighting on this balcony gazebo looking area, and Arthur's just pounding his face in a little bit, and then we hear sirens blaring, and then next thing you know, that guard is getting thrown right off this tower and falling to the ground, and then Arthur jumps off the tower as well and lands on the guard down on the ground as well to cushion his fall. And it works, I guess. It cushions his fall somehow. He gets up and runs away. And the next scene we see is this guy carrying his little dog in the woods, and it's nighttime. And I guess they just got out of the car because the dog had to go to the washroom. But the dog's not going to the washroom because he's too scared. And then a cop shows up. And the guy's like, "Well, what's up, officer?" He's like, we had someone escape the ward. You should probably get on your way, get your dog and get out of here. In case he comes up and tries to kill you. Just wanted to let you know. Random guy out in the woods. On the side of the road, in the middle of God knows where, because I really don't know where this is based out of. And then the guy just picks up his dog. He's like, "Oh, come on, we're getting out of here." But it comes to find out that once he gets in the car, Arthur's already sitting in his backseat and starts choking him out. At least we know Arthur's not all crazy, because he picks up the puppy dog, and he doesn't do anything bad with it. He hugs it, snuggles with it a little bit, kisses it on the head, and then just puts it on his owner's dead body outside the car and be like, "Dave, your owner now. See you later, puppy dog." Then we see this montage of this lady getting out of the airport, getting in a taxi cab. Then it cuts to this other guy in bed with a lady getting it on, and it cuts back to the taxi cab, and then back to them getting it on. I'm assuming the guy's cheating. And there's the scene where she gets out of the taxi cab. Next thing we know, she's inside the house just staring at them as they're getting it on, and this guy never even hears her walk in the front door or anything. I guess she's super quiet, and then they just stare at each other being like, "Oh, hi." The next thing we know, we see the guy out on the balcony as he's got this beachfront home, and he's sitting on the balcony just washing the water, and then this mistress comes out. She's like, "I'm leaving now. Sorry about your girlfriend." He's like, yeah, it sucks. I'm just gonna sit here though and watch the water. Apparently the girlfriend is Linda, and we see her at a payphone, and she's calling what I believe would be her manager, because she's late for a meeting because she forgot all about it in the audition or something. He's like, "Linda, where are you? Why'd you miss the appointment? You can't just miss the appointment with fancy people like this. They would have got you the movie." Then we just see Linda driving in her convertible just down these back windy roads, just music blaring, just no care in the world, just driving somewhere. God knows where. Then she literally stops her car literally starts to smoke, and she runs away from the car as it's smoking, looking like she's screaming, but there's no sounds coming from her at all. We hear the hissing from the car, but that's about it. And then she stops and looks back at the car and being like, oh, the smoke's stopping, maybe I'll just slowly walk back to the car now. She walks back to the car and gets on the passenger side and just gives it a kick, being like, God damn it, and then we just see her walking down this side road somewhere, God knows where. And of course, this long walk, typical horror movies, takes you to a random gas station out in the middle of nowhere. Shocking. Where she's then walking into the garage being like, hello? Anybody here? I see your big rig here, but I don't see anybody here. Hello? Anybody want to help me? I'm stranded out in the middle of nowhere. And then music changes too to make it seem more menacing and ominous. And this greasy truck driver shows up with the tow truck being like, well, lady, what can I do for you? What brings you out here in my neck of the woods? And the truck driver guy, tow truck driver, whatever, the lead mechanic, let's say, he's like, how about I get you a soda pop? You must be from Los Angeles. You must be a movie star. And she's like, no, actually, I'm a model. Thank you very much. She just cuts all the BS, and he's like, so can you fix my car? Even though you haven't seen my car at all, or know what's wrong with my car, but hopefully you can just automatically fix my car because you're a mechanic. Then he has her sit down on this backseat of a vehicle that's just sitting on the ground, the garage. Typical thing for back then. I get it. I totally understand it. On the farm, we had a bunch of them all over the place. I get it. And he's like, come on, sit down. You know, I like you. Let's relax a little bit. I know you're an actress. Have you done any of those pornos? And then he starts putting the moves on her, and she grabs a screwdriver, and he's like, you're not going to be able to hold me off with that screwdriver. Then we hear the dinging sound as another car pulls into the gas station. Convenient, of course. So she runs off to go ask that person for help. Of course, inside that car is Arthur, and he chases after her, getting ready to kill her. And then she runs behind the garage at like this wood pile and like he starts choking her, and then the garage mechanic comes out. He's like, what the hell are you doing? And he literally shoots Arthur and be like, come on, hon, you get up here. Nobody was going to hurt you. I'll keep you safe, I promise. And then on the other side of the woodpile, Arthur just gets back up, and I don't know what he has in his hand, but he just smokes the mechanic in the back of the head, and it looks like it's just a piece of pipe or something that he found in this random woodpile. And then the chase starts off again, because she starts running for her life. In high heels, of course. And then she randomly runs into what looks to be like an old cattle barn, and she's walking down the walkway of the cattle barn. And then Arthur just breaks through the door, and she starts running into a different building, which, when we're looking at it, it also looks like it's also like a morgue or something, because it looks like it's got the pull-out doors where the body would sit. And then she hides in a random spot inside there. And then she picks up a piece of plywood and hides behind the plywood because she found a different closet that's attached to that building. Makes no sense whatsoever. Arthur just happens to walk into that exact closet as well, and there just happens to be an axe sitting there. So he just decides, I see some plywood here, so I'm going to start chipping at it. He starts chipping at it, and he misses her each time, but then she gets up and pushes the plywood at him to try and get away, but then he just grabs her and pulls her closer, like a romantic pull-in kind of, and just starts like feeling up her face. I don't know what she grabs at this point in time because it's really grainy to see, but she grabs something and just stabs him in like the upper thigh, and she's able to get away for a couple minutes at least. She's running for this junkyard area again, and then she comes to El Camino, gets inside of it, and just happens to have the keys inside of it. She starts driving away, but Arthur gets on the roof of it, and the next thing you know, she pulls the e-brake, he flies off, and then she's like driving around this yard as he's trying to jump back on the car. He finally gets back on the hood of the car, and then we see her crashing into like this pile, and Arthur goes flying, and then we just see a newspaper ad about a killer, and it looks like a shot of her inside the ad as if she's a victim. And then we just cut to a random room full of women, and they're all doing this space audition. One of the girls gets done doing her audition, and there's two directors, and one's a female, one's a guy, and the lady's like, what do you think? He's like, nice ass. Keep her in mind. I like her. Nice ass. So I must have been wrong because the flyer that we saw in the newspaper ad, apparently she escaped because we now see Linda, I think was her name, up on stage, and the director's like, she looks familiar. She's like, yeah, she's the one that escaped that killer. I could have swore that newspaper ad said victim though on it. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was just a grainy shot. Maybe I just looked at the wrong writing. I don't know. I thought she was dead, but apparently she's not. And of course the guy's like, I like Linda a lot because she fought the real beast. She fought a real serial killer. I'm hiring her on the spot right now. Apparently this director wants to use her real life situation of dealing with a serial killer to build the character of this movie. I guess it's gonna work out. I don't know. As Linda's leaving the room for this conversation, the two directors, like it's the main director and then there's this other guy, Bert or Stevie. I don't know. Anyways, the one guy's like, you keep your hands off her. She's been through enough. No pervy stuff. You understand me? She's been through enough. Oh, yeah, I forgot. The one guy that was telling the sleazy director to keep his hands off was actually Linda's, I guess, manager. I don't know what he is. I don't know much about the movie scene. But anyways, she's like, hey, look, I got a bro. He's like, yeah, he's kind of sleazy, but, welcome to Hollywood. They're all sleazy. And then we see Arthur in, a mental hospital, working out as he's watching TV. And, of course, Linda's on the TV again. Then we see Arthur tied up to a chair, and he's in front of, like, a little court jury. And they're like, so, Arthur, how you feeling today? He's like, fine. And they're like, do you still have nightmares about your mother? He's like, I don't have nightmares. Then the judge is like, so, Arthur, I want to ask you about these newspaper clippings I found. He's like, give them to me. They're mine. He's like, yeah, I know they're yours. I'm just curious why you have these newspaper clippings. And it's, of course, all clippings about Linda. And Arthur just starts freaking out in the chair, just starts screaming, trying to break free. And then the guards have to come in to restrain him. And then the guards are holding him down while one of the doctors injects him. And the other doctor's like, wow, he's becoming immune to the injections. I don't know what to do with him. So we can find out that we're in California at some point in time, or some general area of California, because they want to send him down to San Diego. And the one doctor's like, hey, no, I want to keep him here. I want to study him. I could use him as a subject for a whole chapter in my book. I want to get the money. And then we see Arthur, like, sedated on a gurney being stretchered through the room. And the next thing we know, we see a hospital ambulance van driving down the road. And of course, he's like straitjacket to a gurney or something. It looks like he's in a body bag at one point. And there's a guard in the back just sitting there reading a book. And the next thing you know, Arthur just breaks free of the whole bag and just starts beating the crap out of the guard in the back. And the next thing we know, we see the back of the van doors opening. And that guard is hanging out the back of the van. And I don't know if his head is hitting the pavement as they're driving or not. But he's kind of bouncing a little bit. So I'm assuming maybe. But then the van stops and the big, strong guard that was laughing at little Jimmy for knowing karate starts fighting Arthur in the back. But then Arthur gives a whole fistful of his junk, and then they start fighting outside. And the next thing you know, the guard is like dead or knocked out, and we just see Arthur running away. And then we see this truck driver driving down the road, and we see Arthur on the side of the road. So he's like, I want to pick him up. Back in the day when picking up hitchhikers wasn't a big deal. And then he's like, I'm hearing some sounds. I gotta pull over, see if I got flat. I'm assuming you would definitely know, probably if you had a flat on a transport, but I don't know. I've never been in a transport, so how would I know? So they pull over to the side of the road. The truck driver gets out with his pipe to, go around tapping the tires like they do to check the pressure. He's like, hey, you hold this pipe for a minute, Arthur, because Arthur gets out with him. So Arthur's like, okay, sure. And then Arthur just smashes him in the face with it. Yeah, I saw that coming. And then we just see the same transport driving down the road. But of course, now in the driver's seat is an angry Arthur, and he's shifting gears. He's getting ready to run down this truck that's in front of him. And back in the old days, you used to be able to sit in the back box of a truck. But there's 3 people sitting in the back of the box of the truck, and they're not happy with Arthur getting so close to them with the transport. So they start throwing alcohol balls at him, at least 1 or 2. And then he gets pissed off, so he's like, you know what? I'm going to shift some more gears and chase you guys down. One of the guys gets up to throw another beer bottle at Arthur, and Arthur gets right up behind the truck and bumps it a little bit. But he doesn't bump it enough to make this guy bounce, but this guy bounces out of the back of the truck and onto the roof, or not the roof, the hood of the transport. And then next thing you know, we see this guy falling off the hood, even though he's flat on the hood. He's slowly falling down the grill, and then next thing you know, he's getting dragged from underneath the transport. And as the scene goes farther and farther along, we see this random guy farther and farther down the underbelly of this transport. He's not touching the ground because the height clearance of the transport is tall enough, but he's all bloody and bruised now. And then the guy just gives up on life, lets go, and gets crushed by all the wheels of the transport on the left side of it, even though he was down the center line of the transport the whole time while the scene was going on. And Arthur comes up behind that truck, bumps it again. Truck goes off into the desert area. One of the ladies in the back flies out of it, tumbles down the hill. And next thing we see the truck go up a hill and down another hill, and somehow the whole back axle just falls right off of the damn thing. I was kind of hoping the transport was going to become a bigger scene or part of this movie, because then we just see Arthur parking the transport off on this dirt road, because apparently he ran out of gas and didn't bother looking for a gas station while, driving through, because we see a montage before this of him just driving through the back road. Everything looks like back road, but I'm assuming it's not back roads because it's just like desert area. cut to this sci-fi movie that's been filming the whole time, and it's just 4 ditzy girls being like, ooh, water, let's all strip down. Okay, so we find out that this director is Charlie, and Bert's one of the creepy guys behind doing like the financing or the producing, one of the things. Anyways, Charlie doesn't like what Bert's doing, and he's like, this scene has no part being in this movie. He's like, no, it does, trust me, it's going to sell the picture. And then we find out Charlie's fired. Okay, so we find out the old guy that's with Linda, like her manager, is Steven. Bert's like, hey, we can't tell her that the psycho is out in the desert. And like, what's going to happen? He's not going to travel the desert just to try and find her on this movie set and kill her. That's crazy. He's not going to travel that far. And he's like, well, what if the other people on the movie crew find out and tell her? It's like, nah, the crew won't say anything. We'll keep it all hush-hush. Then we see Arthur hitchhiking, and this blue truck comes up on him, and they go to slow down, and Arthur starts running towards them to get in the truck. But then the girlfriend's like, no, you keep going. This guy looks creepy. And then the driver's like, hey, sorry, bud. The lady says no. Gotta get going. See ya. Bye-bye. Then this other old lady pulls up driving the station wagon. She could barely get the station wagon stopped before running him over because he's standing in the middle of the road. And he opens up the door and, takes her of the car nice and gently, nothing serious. And she's like, what do you want? He's like, nothing. She's like, oh, you're a really handsome man. He's like, all right, I'm gonna go get in the car and drive away. So he does. And he just leaves her there. Then as Arthur's driving in his new car, he comes across the blue Ford again, but now it's nighttime, and the couple's getting it on in the front seat, of course, because that's the type of movie this is. And Arthur just crouches behind the truck, puts a rag in the back of the truck. It looks like it's supposed to be in the tailpipe, but it's not. It's just on the bumper, and he lights the rag on fire. And the next thing we know, we see the whole truck blowing up. We see the guy running out of the truck on fire, screaming for his life. It's now the next day, and we see the movie crew working away, and we see Arthur pulling up in the distance a little bit, parking his little station wagon, getting out and being like, they're over that way, huh? I'm just gonna go hide behind some bushes and walk around a little bit. And then he's running down the road that leads right to where the crew is, because he's running past a couple of the crew's cars as he's running down this laneway. And there's no guards or security teams anywhere at all. And then we see a stupid scene with Linda. She's like, Captain, I think we're being watched. And they're standing beside this rock, and the top of the rock pops off, and there's a giant eyeball right beside them. And the captain guy's like, will you keep your female thoughts to yourself? I'm going to sit down on this other rock that's going to open up, and then I'm going to get sucked into this giant fake-looking stupid melt. And then they're like, cut! This is a great scene. No, it's not. It's stupid. And we just see this random couple walking through the desert area, and they're like, oh, I love it out here. There's no smog. There's no crazy people. There's no cars. And then the guy's like, oh, crap, I forgot the binoculars. Let me go back to the car to go get the binoculars. So then the lady's just looking around, feeling up some of the branches and stuff. And then we just see Arthur coming out of the woods. I thought Arthur was going to come out where the girl was. Apparently, he comes out where these people were camping. And he starts going for this person's tent and some belongings and finds the binoculars. So then the other guy's like, hey, what are you doing? What are you doing? And then Arthur just starts taking him to the ground and just pounding his face in. And apparently, they weren't too far from their camp, because then the lady comes up and looks at Arthur and be like, hey, what are you doing? So then she goes to run away because she then notices her boyfriend's dead. And Arthur chases after her and then grabs a random pole or a stick or a twig or something and literally just throws it and impales her right in the back, and she's dead. So then we see Arthur up on top of a rock that's looking down at the movie set as the filming's happening. He's using the binoculars to, of course, look closer. And then this rattlesnake comes up behind him, and he throws his shirt at it and then starts pounding it right in the face. And then next thing we know, we see him picking up the rattlesnake and just eating it raw, just biting at his stomach. And then next thing you know, we see him with a jar or a can. He's got a bunch of scorpions that he's picking up. Then we see the sheriff randomly showing up at the movie site, and he's like, hey, gotta talk to you, Bert. So we got an escaped mental patient, and we gotta do every lead. And I think he might be out here in the desert somewhere. Bert's like, what makes you think that? Let's go discuss it in the trailer, okay? The next thing we know, we see Stevie talking to the stunt coordinator, who's also getting mad because Linda's apparently gotta do her own stunt because this movie has no money because they had to drop the stunt coordinator. And now Bert's there because apparently Bert just left the sheriff, even though the sheriff was just there 2 seconds ago. And now it's nighttime, and Arthur's sitting at a campfire they set up, and then this random guy walks up. He's like, I'm the fire marshal for this set. I assume you don't belong here. What are you cooking, though? It smells good. Can I have some? So then Arthur's cooking whatever he's cooking on the stick. He's like, hey, can you hold this for a second? And the guy's like, oh, thanks. Smells good. And then Arthur just snaps his neck and proceeds to use him as a pillow as he lays back eating his food, howling at the moon because he hears the coyote coyotes howling in the background. And then everyone's sitting around tables outside this camper, and Bert walks up. He's like, everyone, I'm sorry the checks are a little late. We're broke, but I'll get you the money. Would I lie to you? I promise I'll get you the money. Because one guy's pissed off. He's like, this movie set's been nothing but a joke. He's like, I quit, I'm out of here. Gets on his dirt bike, goes to drive away, and of course Arthur knocks him off the bike and takes his bike, and then proceeds to take the dirt bike and repeatedly run the guy over multiple times until he starts gushing blood from his mouth. So now the next day we see one of the prop people go in to get Linda's helmet, and of course they go to turn the helmet over and a bunch of scorpions fall out of it, and Steve's like, see, I told you he's out here somewhere in the desert. He's like, what, because there was a scorpion in his helmet? Well, we're in the desert, what do you expect? And he's like, what about all the pictures I ripped up? You think the scorpions did those too? He's like, well, maybe it was the other girls, maybe they're jealous. And then we see Linda going to the prop tent to go get her harness adjusted for the next scene, and she's looking at all the prop stuff, and then she gets spooked because then her boyfriend from the beginning of the movie randomly shows up, and he's like, hey, I just wanted to make sure you're doing okay. And she's like, well, what are you doing here? I don't want you here. He's like, well, I just wanted to make sure that everything's okay, seeing that crazy guy's out here in the desert somewhere. It's like, you didn't know? It's like, no, I didn't know anything about it. Linda goes to talk to Bert, who's in his camper feeling up one of the other actresses, and being like, I don't know what you're talking about. Okay, so what? I do know what you're talking about. I was doing it for you though. I didn't want to tell you because I want you to be focused on the movie because this is gonna be your big break and stuff. And Linda gets all pissed off, walks away. So then Bert just goes back to making out with the other actress, and then we see Bert randomly talking to the director Terry. He's like, hey, I want to add a zombie scene to the sci-fi alien movie in the desert. You know, Night of the Living Dead. That's a big thing. It'll help us with the European sales. Terry's like, well, why don't you just direct the movie? What the hell am I even doing here? He's like, it's just one more scene. Don't worry about it. It's just zombies. Then randomly we see one of the movie guys cutting down some brush because they want to shoot the scene where this exact amount of trees are. So then they give this young guy a chainsaw. As he's cutting down the branches, we then see Arthur, of course, just standing there like, ooh, chainsaw. And then the kid just sets down the chainsaw after cutting like 3 branches and walks away from it. And then we see Arthur just walk away with the chainsaw. And then Bert's like, hey, you gotta go find that chainsaw. It just doesn't walk away. And then one of the guys is like, hey, you over there, you don't belong with that chainsaw. You bring it back over here right now. And then Arthur finally gets the chainsaw started. So then he starts chasing after the security guard. Security guard, of course, falls and then gets cut into pieces. And we see this random construction guy that's working on the movie, building a set. He sees Arthur walking up to him. He's all bloody, carrying the chainsaw. The guy's just sitting down having lunch. He'd be, hey, what the hell happened to you, boy? And Arthur goes to set up chainsaw. And then this guy's like, oh shit, I better start running for my life. And this guy's like a big jacked version of Stone Cold. His balls got the goatee and everything. I'm assuming that they did that on purpose. And then Arthur finally sets down the chainsaw. So the guy's like, oh hey, I'm ready to fight now. They start fighting on the ground, tossing around. Arthur pushes the big guy, the worker, off of him. He like bumps his head. And at this point in time, Arthur has the hammer from the guy and just starts wailing him with the construction hammer. And we have this sad music playing, the slow sad music, and we see boyfriend or ex-boyfriend and Linda just walking. He's like, I'm really sorry for what I did to you. Will you forgive me? Will you love me again? And she's like, I don't know if I can ever trust you ever again. We see they get done filming the zombie scene that they want to do, and it's nighttime, of course. And one of the zombies that was filling up the space is actually Arthur somehow. And then all the zombies go to talk Bert at his trailer, and he's like, hey, listen guys, I want money right now. Pay you next week, okay? You guys look fantastic though, but I'll pay you next week. So then Arthur walks into the camper with him. He's like, hey, I told you I'll pay you guys next week, okay? I don't have any money right now. So then Arthur picks him up, and at this point I think Bert finally realizes who he's dealing with, and then Arthur's like, are you scared? And he literally just impales his head onto like the coat hanger that was behind him. And then Linda and Steven are having a little talk, and he's like, I'm sorry I didn't tell you about the whole, psychopath out in the desert. This movie's been one accident after another, and I just want to get done over with. And we see this Ed guy who's getting ready to set up this big explosion that's going to happen in the movie, getting everything set up and ready. And it's nighttime again, even though it was just daytime 2 seconds ago. And Ed's also going to be the monster for the movie. But then we see Arthur come up behind him and start killing him. And then we see the monster walking on set for the scene. And of course, the monster is now Arthur. They're filming the scene, but Linda starts screaming at Ed, the monster, because he's being too aggressive with her. And of course, it's just, it's not really Ed, it's Arthur. So then, of course, Linda's screaming a lot because she's in pain from Arthur. So then Steven steps in and be like, oh, that's enough of the scene. So then the monster smacks Steven, and then Linda takes off the mask, and then they find out it's Arthur. So then everyone runs away screaming like little schoolgirls. And then we see Arthur is now undressed from the monster outfit, and he's got Linda on top of the spaceship where the big giant explosion is. And he's got flare, and he throws it into the spaceship, and we see flames happening all over the place. And then the boyfriend or ex-boyfriend comes up and starts beating the crap out of Arthur, and then the spaceship starts to fall apart because Linda's like inside the one spot and the boyfriend girlfriend's trying to get her out of it, and then Arthur's on the one spot of the spaceship, but his wing kind of breaks down, so then he's trying to climb up it. I feel like the ending of this movie is going to be a little bit of a clusterfuck. And the sheriff is just standing there because he can't shoot his gun, because if he shoots gun and accidentally hits explosion, the whole thing's going to blow up. But then they're just standing there, and the whole thing just goes up in flames because it's all on fire. Then it's the next day, and they're checking the ashes of the burnt down spaceship. And they're like, no body in there. If there was a body in there, we would have found it. And then we just see a shot of the hillside, and we hear a howling coming from the hillside, and we just know that's Arthur howling out there in the desert somewhere. And that's how the movie ends, and that's it. That's all she wrote, folks. This was an interesting movie, to say the least. Wasn't that great. I feel like it was a little bit of a cluster for writing. It has lots of kills in it, so that's good at least. Not that you see a lot of the gore by any means. It's all kind of done off camera, but that's okay. I'm alright with that. But yeah, on the rotten scale of 10, I'd give it a 4 out of 10. It's nothing great. I wish the transport was more of a thing in the movie. Thought that would have been cool, but nonetheless, it was alright. Not something I'm going to watch anytime soon, or maybe even ever again. This brings us to the point in time where we get to pick what we're going to be watching next week. So for next week's episode, we're going to watch a movie from 1995 called Shadow Creature. Another movie I have never seen before, I know nothing about, and hopefully, I'm hoping that it's a good one. I'm expecting it's going to be really cheesy, and I'm okay with that. So hopefully, you guys will tune in for that one. Hopefully, it's going to be a fun one. I say hopefully a lot. I really got to stop doing that.
Anyways, thank you everyone for checking out this week's episode of the podcast. Hopefully, you guys, I said it again. Please go check out the outro band, Toronto-based horror band, Split Up. You can check out all their links down below as well in this episode. You can find them on Instagram, Facebook, SoundCloud, YouTube, but the main thing being Spotify. So definitely go check them out on Spotify. Give them a like, give them a follow, share their music. I'm sure they appreciate it a lot. And as always, find all my links down below. Follow me on all social media accounts at Typensign. We're on TikTok, we're on X, we're on Threads, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook, and we're on YouTube. Definitely go check out the YouTube channel. Got the weekly game video every single Wednesday. Got various short videos over there as well. Doing live streams as well. Go check out the Twitch channel where we do live streams as well. And I will talk to you guys all later. Peace.
Bunch of old men start